Life is too short to spend it surrounded by negativity. The older we get, the more we learn to recognize the value of the relationships in our lives. When we're younger, we often feel obligated to maintain every relationship, to do what's expected of us, and to uphold familial duties, no matter how they make us feel. But as time passes and wisdom grows, we start to realize something crucial. We do not have to accept people or situations that drain us. Family, friends, colleagues, and acquaintances, they all play a role in our lives, but we are the ones who decide the extent of that role. There's a point in our journey when we realize that not all relationships are worth keeping. The importance of these connections becomes less about fulfilling obligations and more about fostering peace, joy, and genuine support. It's essential to assess who adds value to our lives and who merely takes away from it. In fact, the more we age, the more we understand that our time and energy are limited, and choosing to spend it on those who uplift us rather than bring us down is not a luxury, it's necessary. There was a time when maintaining family relationships felt like a duty, something we were supposed to do because it was expected of us. But duty often comes at the cost of personal well-being, and in the long run, it only leaves us exhausted, emotionally drained, and at times resentful. We may feel guilty for considering cutting off ties with a family member or an old friend, but self-care and peace of mind should always come first. We are not here to spend every moment of our lives catering to others' needs while our own happiness fades into the background. In this stage of life, we have the privilege of setting our own boundaries and making decisions that protect our mental and emotional well-being. Protecting your peace is not an act of selfishness. Rather, it is an act of self-preservation and empowerment. You no longer owe anyone your time or your energy if they continuously drain you without offering anything in return. We are not obligated to maintain relationships that leave us feeling empty. Our peace is more valuable than any external expectation. We all encounter people who pull us in different directions, each with their own needs and demands. Some bring warmth, positivity, and support into our lives, while others consume our energy without offering anything but negativity. This is why it's crucial to identify the difference and prioritize those who contribute to our happiness. And while we once might have felt guilty for choosing ourselves over others, we now understand that we are entitled to choose peace over obligation. Every moment matters, and as we grow older, we gain the wisdom to spend those moments wisely. Surrounding ourselves with people who nourish our spirit, who offer love and encouragement, is not just beneficial, it's vital to our well-being. As we age, the quality of our relationships becomes far more important than the quantity. In the end, life is too short to waste on relationships that no longer serve us. This is the time to focus on the people who genuinely care about us, who make us feel loved, respected, and appreciated. Choosing to protect your peace is not a decision to be taken lightly. It is a powerful act of self-love. When we look back on our lives, we often realize how much time we've spent trying to please others, to meet their needs, and to fulfill their expectations. For a long time, it feels like a duty, a responsibility we cannot avoid. We feel an unspoken obligation to maintain relationships because they are family, friends, or long-term acquaintances. But as we get older, we begin to see things more clearly. We start to realize that not every relationship is worth keeping, especially when it takes a toll on our well-being. This is a realization that can be difficult to accept, but it is ultimately necessary. Protecting your peace becomes not just important, but imperative. It's a choice we have to make, one that requires us to set boundaries. Something that might seem difficult at first, especially when we've been conditioned to prioritize others' needs over our own for so long. But here's the truth. You don't owe anyone your time, your energy, or your emotional space if they continually drain you. Choosing to put yourself first is not selfish. It's essential to your mental and emotional health. There will always be people who demand more from you than you're able to give. These are the individuals who will never be satisfied, no matter how much you do for them. They might seem like they need you, but in reality, they are just taking from you without offering anything in return. They are the energy drainers, and no matter how much you give, they will never be content. Their endless demands will never end, and the moment you try to set a boundary or prioritize your own needs, they will make you feel guilty for doing so. But you are not here to serve everyone else's needs at the expense of your own happiness. There's a point in life when you must recognize that your happiness is not negotiable. We spend so much of our lives trying to please others, trying to live up to expectations, that we forget to ask ourselves, what do I need to feel at peace? What kind of relationships do I want to nourish my soul? It's easy to get caught up in trying to keep everyone happy, but in doing so, we forget about our own needs. It's essential to understand that putting yourself first does not make you a bad person. In fact, it is one of the most courageous things you can do. Learning to say no, learning to set boundaries, and learning to recognize that not every relationship is meant to last is part of the process of self-care and personal growth. The people who truly care about you will respect your boundaries and will not make you feel guilty for choosing peace over obligation. The idea of prioritizing your peace over family obligations can feel overwhelming at first. But remember, family doesn't automatically mean healthy relationships. Blood may tie us together, but it doesn't mean we owe anyone our emotional and mental well-being if they are toxic. Family should be a source of love and support, not stress and exhaustion. And just because someone shares the same bloodline doesn't mean we have to sacrifice our joy, peace, or sense of self for them. As you move forward, remember that you are allowed to choose your relationships, even with family. You are allowed to choose who deserves your time, your energy, and your love. You do not need to continue enduring toxic behavior simply because of shared history. Protecting your peace should never feel like an act of rebellion. It should feel like a natural and necessary choice for your well-being. At this stage of life, it's time to stop living for others' expectations and start living for your own happiness. The more you embrace the idea of choosing peace, the more you'll realize how much lighter, freer, and happier you become. Let go of the burden of toxic relationships and focus on those that bring you joy, encouragement, and warmth. Some people, despite how much you give, will always leave you feeling empty. These individuals are the energy drainers, those who, no matter the time or energy you invest in them, never seem to reciprocate with love, support, or positivity. Instead, they come to you with a never-ending stream of complaints, negativity, and demands. It's as though their primary goal is to exhaust you emotionally while offering nothing in return. These energy drainers have a unique ability to make every conversation feel like a one-way street. They share their problems, their frustrations, their dissatisfaction with life, but when it's your turn to speak, they are either uninterested or dismissive. It's a constant cycle of giving without receiving, and over time, this imbalance takes a serious toll on your emotional well-being. The hardest part is that these individuals are often the people you feel obligated to help. Family, friends, or close acquaintances. You might feel responsible for lifting them up, for helping them see the brighter side of life, or for taking on their burdens. You may feel like it's your job to fix their problems, to give them advice, to listen to their complaints. But in doing so, you slowly lose yourself in the process. You become consumed by their issues, and your own needs and desires are pushed to the side. Here's the truth. You cannot pour from an empty cup. You cannot keep giving and giving without taking the time to care for yourself. And no matter how hard you try, you will never be able to make someone else happy if they are unwilling to find happiness within themselves. These energy-draining relationships only lead to frustration and emotional depletion. There comes a point when you have to acknowledge that your energy is finite, and it is vital to spend it on people and situations that are nurturing, not draining. If you've been in a relationship with an energy drainer, you know how exhausting it can be. You walk away from each interaction feeling like you've just run a marathon, even though you didn't physically move an inch. These people have a way of pulling you into their negative space, making everything about their problems. And when they leave, they often leave behind a lingering sense of frustration and heaviness, as if you've just carried their emotional baggage for them. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking you have to solve their problems, but you are not responsible for anyone else's happiness. You can't be everyone's emotional caretaker, and it's not your job to make someone else feel better at the cost of your own peace. It's okay to walk away, to say no, to set boundaries, and to choose yourself. The sooner you accept this, the sooner you will realize the freedom that comes with protecting your own energy. This doesn't mean that you should abandon those who are struggling. We all go through tough times, and it's natural to support the people we care about. But when the relationship becomes one-sided, when all they do is take and never offer anything of value in return, it's time to reassess the connection. True relationships are built on mutual respect, love, and energy exchange. If the balance is always tipped in one direction, it's a sign that it's time to walk away. The people who truly care for you will not make you feel exhausted after every conversation. They will listen, they will support, and they will uplift you, just as you do for them. These are the people worth keeping close. The others, the energy drainers, need to be left behind. Your happiness and your well-being are worth more than constantly being pulled down by people who cannot offer the same in return. There are certain people in our lives who seem to have a knack for making us feel guilty for simply taking care of ourselves. These individuals are manipulators, and their power lies in their ability to twist your kindness into a form of obligation. They will push your boundaries and demand your time, attention, and energy, only to make you feel as if you are in the wrong when you try to say no. They thrive on making you feel guilty for prioritizing your own needs, as if your life is somehow less valuable than theirs. Manipulators often have a way of turning a simple request into a demand. They make you feel as if your decisions and actions should revolve around their needs and desires. At times, they might even resort to playing the victim, making you feel responsible for their happiness. They are skilled at making you believe that your time and energy should always be available to them, no matter how much they take from you. They may not ask directly, but they will use guilt, emotional appeals, and sometimes even silent treatment to get their way. At some point, you may realize that this dynamic is incredibly toxic. Manipulators drain your energy by demanding more from you than you can give. They create a cycle where you feel compelled to meet their expectations, but no matter how much you give, it's never enough. They don't care about your needs or well-being. Their focus is entirely on themselves. The more you sacrifice, the more they demand, until you are left feeling empty, resentful, and emotionally exhausted. One of the most powerful things you can do in such situations is to set clear boundaries. Manipulators often try to push those boundaries, believing that you will eventually give in. But if you allow them to control your time and emotions, you will find yourself losing a part of yourself along the way. You need to understand that you are not obligated to cater to their every whim, especially when they are using guilt and manipulation to control you. No one has the right to make you feel responsible for their emotional state. The hardest part is often learning to recognize when this manipulation is happening. Manipulators are masters at masking their intentions, at making you question your own feelings and instincts. They will often tell you that you should feel guilty for putting yourself first, for saying no, or for setting boundaries. They might even accuse you of being selfish or uncaring, despite the fact that they are the ones who are exploiting your kindness. But it's important to remember that your well-being comes first, and you are not responsible for their happiness. The more you grow, the more you begin to realize that you don't owe anyone an explanation for choosing to protect your peace. If someone is constantly manipulating you into sacrificing your happiness and mental health, it's time to reconsider the relationship. You deserve to have people in your life who respect your boundaries, who care about your well-being, and who won't try to manipulate you into doing things that serve only them. Cutting ties with manipulators can be one of the hardest decisions you make, especially when they are family or close friends. However, it's crucial to remember that no relationship is worth your peace of mind. Learning to say no, to walk away from toxic dynamics, and to set strong boundaries is a powerful act of self-love and self-respect. Life is filled with many relationships. Some are uplifting, some are supportive, and others are downright toxic. One of the most draining types of relationships is with those who constantly find something wrong with everything you do. These individuals are the relentless critics, those who always seem to find a flaw, a mistake, or something to disapprove of, no matter how hard you try. They never offer praise, never see the positive in your actions, and instead they seem to thrive on pointing out your imperfections. It's easy to become discouraged when you are constantly faced with criticism. No matter how much effort you put into a task, a project, or even just in life in general, these critics will always find something to bring you down. It's as if their happiness and sense of self-worth are dependent on making you feel less than you are. They are quick to judge, but rarely do they offer support, encouragement, or a kind word when you need it most. The danger of these relationships is that over time, constant criticism can erode your self-esteem. It can make you question your decisions, your abilities, and your worth. You start to feel like you can never do enough, and you may even start to doubt your own judgment. The truth is, these critics are not there to help you grow. They are not offering constructive feedback or encouraging you to improve. Instead, their criticism is meant to tear you down, to make you feel inadequate, and to make you question yourself. What's important to understand is that you do not need to seek validation from these people. Your value is not defined by their approval. You are enough. Your choices, your efforts, and your accomplishments are valuable, regardless of whether they acknowledge them. It's critical to remember that no one has the right to make you feel inferior, and you do not need to justify your life to anyone. When you constantly deal with relentless critics, you may find yourself living in a constant state of anxiety, fear of judgment, and self-doubt. This creates an emotional environment where you are always second-guessing yourself and seeking external validation. But it's time to stop. You are not here to please everyone, and you are not responsible for their approval. No matter how many times they criticize, no matter how many doubts they sow in your mind, you get to choose your own worth. What's more, constant criticism can prevent you from enjoying your life, from pursuing your dreams, and from being truly happy. These individuals create an environment where negativity thrives, and everything you do feels like a battle. But the truth is, happiness and fulfillment come from within, and they are not dependent on other people's judgment. In situations like this, it is crucial to learn to set boundaries and distance yourself from people who cannot see the value in you. It's okay to walk away from relationships that only bring you down. You are not obligated to keep these people in your life simply because they are family, old friends, or colleagues. It's time to prioritize your emotional health and well-being over trying to meet the expectations of others. Remember, you are deserving of relationships that nurture you, that uplift you, and that encourage you to be your best self. You deserve to be surrounded by people who celebrate your victories, support you in your struggles, and appreciate you for who you are, not who they think you should be. Let go of the critics who drain your spirit and make room for those who bring out the best in you. We all have those people in our lives who seem to only reach out when they need something. These individuals are the takers, and their relationships with us are often transactional rather than meaningful. They only contact you when they need help, a favor, or support. But when the tables are turned, they are nowhere to be found. It's as though their relationship with you is entirely centered around what they can get from you, your time, energy, or resources. They seldom check in just to say hello or to see how you are doing. Their presence in your life is conditional, based entirely on what they can extract from the situation. The problem with these relationships is that they are one-sided. You are constantly giving, but rarely do you receive anything in return. Whether it's emotional support, kindness, or appreciation, the takers never ask how you're feeling, never acknowledge your needs, and often fail to show gratitude for what you do for them. It's an exhausting dynamic that eventually leaves you feeling used rather than cared for. These people do not value the relationship for what it truly is. To them, you are just another resource to be tapped into when they are in need. They might not even realize they are doing it, or they might justify their behavior by telling themselves that you are always there for them, so they can always count on you. But this kind of imbalance is toxic. Healthy relationships are built on mutual care and understanding, where both parties contribute to one another's well-being. In relationships with takers, however, one person is always left holding the bag. Over time, this constant giving can leave you feeling emotionally drained and taken for granted. You might start to question why you're constantly there for someone who never reciprocates. You might wonder if your time, energy, and effort are even valued at all. It's not just exhausting, it can also make you feel unimportant, as though your needs don't matter. It's painful to realize that you are only valued for what you can provide, not for who you are as a person. The key to protecting yourself in these situations is to recognize the pattern early on and set boundaries. You do not owe anyone an endless supply of your time or resources. While it's natural to want to help people you care about, it's also crucial to understand that you have limits. You cannot continue to give if you are not being replenished in some way. You have to learn to say no, to set boundaries, and to protect your own needs and well-being. One of the most empowering things you can do for yourself is to recognize when a relationship is no longer serving you. If you are always the one giving, always the one making sacrifices, always the one bending over backwards, it may be time to reassess the dynamic. You deserve relationships that are built on mutual respect and love, not on what you can do for someone else. Healthy relationships should make you feel seen, heard, and valued, not as though you are merely a means to an end. It can be difficult to distance yourself from people who only reach out when they need something, especially if they are close family members or longtime friends. But it's important to remember that you are worthy of more. You deserve to be in relationships where you feel loved for who you are, not just for what you can give. And if someone continuously takes without giving back, it may be time to make the difficult decision to let them go. At this stage in life, you've learned that not every relationship is worth keeping. There is no obligation to endure toxic patterns, and the final piece of this puzzle is recognizing that you deserve freedom. Freedom from guilt, freedom from negativity, and freedom from people who try to control you or drain your energy. The truth is, you don't have to justify your decision to protect your peace to anyone, especially not to those who don't value you. You've spent years nurturing relationships, making sacrifices, and doing what was expected of you. Now is the time to reclaim your space, your energy, and your happiness. Life is too short to be trapped in relationships that constantly pull you down. Whether it's family, friends, or colleagues, you are allowed to choose who you want to spend your time with. No one has the right to make you feel obligated to maintain relationships that no longer serve your well-being. One of the most powerful things you can do for yourself is to learn that choosing peace is not selfish. It's necessary. When you protect your mental and emotional health, you are giving yourself permission to truly live. It's not about being cold or uncaring, but about recognizing that you are no longer willing to sacrifice your joy for the comfort or expectations of others. Let's face it, there will always be people who bring chaos, drama, or constant demands into your life. They thrive on conflict, enjoy stirring up trouble, and often try to manipulate you into feeling like you are responsible for their unhappiness. But you don't have to tolerate this kind of energy. You have the right to protect your peace and distance yourself from people who bring negativity. There's a common misconception that family ties must come first, no matter the cost to your own happiness. While it's important to honor relationships, it's equally crucial to understand that family does not give anyone permission to take your peace. Blood relations should not be an excuse to endure toxicity or disrespect. Your worth is not tied to how much you tolerate from those who claim to be family. If someone consistently brings negativity, manipulates your time, or makes you feel drained, it's okay to put up boundaries, even if they are family members. The beauty of life is that you are in control of who you allow into your inner circle. With each relationship, you have the power to decide whether it enhances your life or detracts from it. You deserve to be surrounded by people who make you feel loved, appreciated, and supported. These are the relationships that will help you grow, inspire you to be your best self, and bring joy into your life. Surround yourself with people who genuinely care about your well-being, and let go of those who only take, drain, or hurt you. It's a journey of self-discovery, learning to let go of the toxic relationships that no longer serve you, and making space for the ones that will nurture you. You are worthy of peace, and you have the right to live a life that is free from unnecessary stress, emotional burden, and drama. When you let go of the negative, you create room for the positive. Finally, as you embrace this new chapter of your life, understand that your happiness is in your hands. No one else can dictate how you feel or how you live. You are the architect of your own peace. So take the time to reevaluate your relationships, Set your boundaries and choose those who contribute to your joy. Life is short and it is yours to live. So protect it fiercely and never apologize for putting your well-being first. As we journey through life, we learn that protecting our peace and happiness is not a luxury, it's a necessity. It's time to let go of toxic relationships that drain our energy and focus on the ones that truly uplift us. Remember, you are worthy of love, respect, and joy. Never feel guilty for putting yourself first. Life is too short to waste on negativity. If this message resonated with you, hit the like button and subscribe to Elderly Pathways for more insights and inspiration on living your best life at every stage. Let's walk this path together, creating relationships that bring peace, happiness, and fulfillment. Stay strong, stay peaceful, and take care of yourself.